It just didn't realize where I picked it up
Yeah.
so early in my career. I'm not afraid to tell you, I cry like a baby most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm just choking up right now.
Yeah.
Think about it. Lead by example at
Correct.
all times. You want your team to be responsible. Well, be responsible.
Welcome to the Next Tier podcast. The Next Tier is a leadership podcast about the people decisions that shape organizations and the moments that define careers. Today, I have the opportunity and pleasure of introducing a friend for a long time, Jose Veras. We've known each other 15 plus years. We met through some mutual friends, neighbors, and our boys played soccer together. Jose, you've been in Atlanta almost 20 years now, I believe.
Yes.
And we'll get into your background a little bit, but worked at Intercontinental Exchange for almost 18 years, currently serving as CIO for Acrisure.
Yep.
And I would love for listeners meeting you for the first time today, what should they know about Jose Veras behind the titles?
Mom was instrumental in my success. She was a constant provider, a constant feed of positivity. Single mom, raising the first. I'm one of five. I have a younger brother with my dad and my stepmom, another younger brother with my mom and stepdad that I had. But first three of us were almost like Irish twins, 11 months apart, each one of us. Yeah. 70, 71, 72. But mom, raising us in cities, Patterson, Bronx, Washington Heights, Haverstraw, New York. Coming from those roots, I think it's solidified my way of getting through life and pushing through it. But my mom, when people say, what's your constant? My mom. Yeah. And I talked to her probably. It's interesting stories I have about her. So when people say, what drives you? I said, family. It really does. You know what I'm saying? My downtime is hanging out with family. I don't, I do, as you know, we've known each other for a while. I do like to party. I like to hang out. You know what I'm saying? But, the kids are.
We like adventure.
Yeah, we do like adventure. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's the ultimate. Played a bunch of things when I was growing up. Nothing, I was just a normal kid, growing up in the city, figuring stuff out, trying to understand what you want to do in life. But I'm not, I've always, to me, it's kind of cliche. I was kind of a nobody, just going through stuff. Yeah. Still a nobody. You know what I'm saying? People think it's just, I'm just going trying to figure out what life is and moving it forward. But constant, my background and my family life, you met her. Becca's my backbone. She's
an amazing woman.
She's a foundation of the house, allows me to do what I do to be the successful person I am. When I success for me is provider. It's not money. It's just providing what my kids, outlets for what I've never had. And, my greatest joy is my daughter going to college. I never, I attended college, dropped out, never went back. I figured it out. You grind, you figure out what you want to do, and you move forward that way. And I think it's a life lesson for people. Everyone's on their own time clock. And I tell my kids all the time, don't worry where you start. Figure out where you end up.
That's right.
And where you want to be as a person. I just want to raise good human beings.
Right.
Not individuals great at this or that.
Yeah.
Just great
that find their own way too.
Just to find their own way. My daughter comes from a different background. She's figuring it out.
Team girl dad.
First, she's the oldest. She's 23. I got my middle child, 17, and I got the youngest is 15. But, she drove me a lot of what I wanted to be as a dad.
Yeah.
And
uber competitive.
Massive competitive.
Yeah.
Massively. And she gets that a little bit from me.
Yeah.
Maybe more than I want to admit. Because, when we had games and she had a bad game, I was right there giving her about stuff.
The car ride home.
The car ride home. Sometimes the wife would bring two cars because she didn't want to be in that situation, And I reflect that.
I can't relate to that.
Yeah, I know you can. But I think the moral of the story is, it's changed, right? You figure it out. You pivot. You don't have to be that one staunch parent of, just driving people. But I've learned a lot. She's showed me more than she probably knows. But with the boys, they're just different. They are. You have a boy and girl. They're just different. And it's good right now. I'm joining myself with that. But to think about Jose, what's Jose about? It's family. I love it. I think I was born to be a dad and a husband. So I'm enjoying it.
So other than your mom, anyone else have early influence on you?
That young, I would say my mom. It was, my brother and sister tend to stayed with my dad, my stepmom, here and there. Dad was he was in the normal, nowadays, back in the days, those dads weren't the same. I'm saying maybe your dad was, I'm saying like you.
No, he was hard as hell.
And he wasn't, they weren't around. He was, I know I got my work ethic.
He was around, but he was hard as hell.
Yeah. My dad, I got my work ethic from my dad. He was always a worker, whatever. He was he's still a misunderstood man. You know what I'm saying? Just angry all the time about life. And so it's interesting how, reflect that. I tell my wife all the time, if I turn like that, you pack stuff and go.
Do you think that's a choice?
I think it is a choice. You choose to be happy.
Yeah.
I'm saying I want to wake up and I want to bring joy into people's houses and my kids. I don't want to just be a miserable at the time.
That's right.
And I think that tends to reflect good on me because, I tend to be more of a optimist. My mom is a very optimistic person. I get a lot of my traits from my mother, you know what I'm saying? Because, I've raised my kids the way she raised me, stern but fair, you know what I'm saying? I'll tell you, she wasn't afraid to put you know what I'm saying? But as a single mom, 3 kids in the city, I'll tell you right now, there was middle school and high school. She was patting herself down, checking stuff. And there was sometimes there was stuff in our pockets that it shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? And she made sure that, we understood that's not the way to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think with all my kids, I think I hit my kid once, Trinity, and I cried the next day.
Yeah. The guilt.
The guilt.
There is a guilt to it.
And the thing is, because there's other ways to do it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not here to say, oh, you shouldn't. You do whatever you have to do.
There is no instruction.
Yeah, there is no instruction. And I tell people all the time, new parents, and as they come up, I can't tell you. There's no thing. What I can tell you, stay open and be honest with it, and love them for whatever they. They're only going to come out because we molded them this way.
Right.
And there's kids that just like adults, they got issues.
Yeah.
But most kids want to be happy and they want to be grateful, and they want their parents to love them and accept them from who they are. So I think that's a key. My mom was always that way.
Yeah.
Very liberal thinker, very open. Love is love. So I don't understand anything else.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and I portray that to my kids. And I think, going through the whole cycle of, life, mom's 77 now, and, she's still around kicking. That woman's going to outlive me. I tell her all the time. And she's like, she doesn't, because no parent wants to bury their kids. But I tell her, well, if you keep kicking it, like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm saying, but it's a good pastime. My mom was there. My grandfather was around for a bit, and because we jumped around, we moved a lot. My mom, we were on Section 8, food stamps and stuff like that. And nothing at that time, I was, guilty, embarrassed of that silliness. You know what I'm saying? But, I think services like that, we're able to provide, us, and then we're 3 working adults paying into the system for the next generation to get a hand up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, I'm the type of guy that wants to put the ladder down, further down, not, take it up and move it somewhere else. So I've always been inclined to always think about the people in reference to, what are they doing today? What's affecting their work-life balance and their work and their home? Because if they're not good at home,
well, and life is going to happen. It's going to get in the way
every day,
and how they respond to it matters. I wanted to say one thing, and I want to move on to kind of the professional journey. You said something really struck with me, and my dad said this, and it's been instilled to me too. And it's the same thing that you said, where we want to provide a better life for our kids than we had. I grew up very middle class, son of 2 teachers. I never went without.
Okay.
But now I look at the privilege level that my kids live.
You thought you were okay, right?
You're darn right. And I, as you said that, it's just like, oh man, it just flashed back to how many times, my dad would say, hey, I want you to have a better life than I have.
Nobody, and I tell you, no man in this life wants better than his sons than his dad.
Yeah.
No other man out the store wants you to be better than him. Your dad does.
That's right.
I'm saying, I know I do. I want my kids to be way better human beings. I'm saying, and open-mindedness and thinking about, what can be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I didn't get here, I wasn't taught this or understood this. Both my parents, they got as far as 5th grade in Dominican Republic. Both they were born and raised in DR. So I always reflect on that. Is if I think my mom was, went to school and college and understood and read more books, you know what I'm saying? But she just reads her Bible and, she's into it. But I think she would have, opened me up a little bit more with my understanding of what education was like that.
Sure.
I don't frown upon it.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, she just wanted me to stay out of the work, stay out of trouble and get a job.
That's right.
So my mindset pretty much through,
provide for yourself.
Provide for yourself, figure it out, you know what I'm saying? And she was always there to nudge, open up loans or whatever I had to do for, when I went back to tech school after I flunked out of college.
Yeah.
The first semester.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, as you said, dropped out of college, went to work for a period of time.
So I'll give you the dropping out of college was, the emphasis in high school. I just went.
Yeah.
I just figured stuff out.
You were in the room.
I was in the room. You know what I'm saying? Had a great time. It was awesome. I don't have a bad memory of college. I mean, high school. I don't remember hating it. I just went. I didn't do anything. I barely got I think I had to get I can't remember, 1.7, 1.6 to graduate. I had a 1.7 as a senior. My junior year.
Just above.
My junior summer, the year before my senior year, I was about to drop out. I was like, let me go get a factory job. So I went and this is one of the things that I do remember my dad doing for me. He says, oh yeah, you're sure. Okay. And he actually figured out that, you need to go and get something else. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I got a friend of mine who's looking, he's a foreman at this place up in Suffering. He said, you should check it out. So I go there, right? It's a factory. They made the candy and caramel for the Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Oh, okay.
So it was interesting. You know, when I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I could do this, right? So I'm in there summer, blazing, 120 degrees, in the moving caramel, burning your arms and stuff. I'm literally the only clear English speaking person. Everyone is, barely speaking English. So they were like, oh yeah, you could be the foreman. I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to, disown or say anything negative or deprive. Obviously, that's the lives that we're able to do, whatever. But I was like, nah, I could do better.
Right.
Let me get back to school. Let me just get a high school diploma, whatever. So I went back my senior year, and I, for some reason I was like, all right, guys, what do I have to get? He was like, well, you got to get, at least some C's or something to get to that 1.7. Yeah. So I crushed it. I actually did it, but then I had to take a, SAT. I think, I joke around with my kids. I was like, I think I got an SAT, whatever the basic was, like 900, 950 I got, because I didn't even study or just went in there.
You just showed up.
Just showed up.
Filled in the dots.
And then, so I signed up for community college, Rockland Community College, where my dad was living up there. And the weekend before, I had to take a remedial test to see, because with my grades, they probably thought I was, mentally challenged. I was like, how is this guy not able to get these grades, whatever? So I said, so the weekend before, it was a Monday, I had to take that test. That weekend was my birthday to turn 18. So you could imagine what I did that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So they dropped me off that Monday.
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses. I probably would have done terrible anyway, because I wasn't actually studying for anything. And I got there, and I bombed. I was in remedial English and math classes in the basement of the library, which is all for second ESL students.
English as a second language.
Yeah. And I'm in there like killing them. Like, no, that's a noun. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm thinking like I was killing. I was like, Jesus, Jose, what are you doing with yourself? But this is how we get here, right? So that first year, I had a couple of those classes paying for with no credit. By the way, those are paid classes that you don't get no credit for. So I'm just paying for it. I was like, oh, well, this is great. But I was mistakenly put into this class. It was Mr. Clark, macroeconomics, right? Macroeconomics. Yeah. I didn't even know how to spell economics at the time. So I was like, what is this about? And I'm like, how did I get in here, right? Quarter into the class, into the semester, he pulls me over. Hey, Jose. He goes, yeah, Mr. Clark. He goes, I don't think you're supposed to be here. I said, dude, you and me both, bro. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? But he goes, but it seems like you're engaging. He was talking about how McDonald's came about. And that just interested me. It was just like, oh, wow, this is how these things work or whatever. So he was very engaging. You know what I'm saying? He was a staunch 60-some-year-old just smoking cigarettes. He had the window open, smoking cigarettes right out the window. Professor just
windows too.
No, right out the window of the class. Like he's sitting there teaching, and he's like blowing out smoke. Just like you can't make a better story, right? Yeah. So he's like, let's see how it goes, right? And I got my first B. You know what I'm saying, in college, right? So I stayed with it. He helped me out. He was doing classes. He would say, hey, whenever you need I'm in early, and I just did it. I was like, oh well, this is what I tell people all the time. Pay attention to the people they put in front of you, because they're trying to guide you something and they're giving you, this is the paying it forward. You know what I'm saying? In his head, he was like, oh, let me take this nincompoot. You're not supposed to be in here. Like, and he showed me, right? Sure as anything. I was like, all right, cool. So I was able to get like a 2.5 out of the entire semester, but I got to be in his class. So I was kind of proud of it. He's like, all right, well, let's get you to the next class. So, of course, life throws you curveballs. He passed away before the semester came up. So I decided, well, he's not there. That's the only cuss I want. So I just dropped out, saying, stupidly. So my whole new philosophy after a couple of years was like, wow, I could have just stayed there and grinded it out. I had the ability, but I'm saying, I tell people all the time, listen to the people that are in front of you. They're always to guide you. And through my life, it was the same thing. So came back, I dropped out. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll just go figure out, I'll work at some work. So I was doing side jobs at, working at a flea market selling leather coats from this guy named Robert Nudie. It's the funniest guy in the world, though. just a typical Yonkers Italian, just hysterical. It was called Wild Skins with a Z. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I can't even tell you the stuff we used to pull off. It's insane, but fun times. But it was weekend work, whatever. And I was just like, what are you doing with yourself? You know what I'm saying? So what I did enjoy at that time was working on cars. That's what I did. You know what I'm saying? I worked on my Toyota Corolla 1.8. We used to race in Hunts Point in the Bronx. People that know that understand that used to get trouble, but we used to put Mazda engines inside Toyota Corollas, that type of stuff. And I enjoyed that very much, modifying the cars, the paints, painting them, whatever. So I said, you know what, maybe I should just do automotive. So I went and interviewed, went to Lincoln Tech in Union, New Jersey, which is about an hour away from the house. And I needed to get a loan. My dad didn't want to sign. Called my mom up, crying like a little baby. Mama, she's like, dude, don't worry about it. Pick me up. We'll sign. She signed my thing. I think it was like $5,000, which was unsurmountable for my mom. Yeah. Put her on paper, whatever. So I said, all right. I said, yeah, Mom, she did it. So that was my first, inclination of what I wanted to do for going forward. And I felt good about it. And with that school, it was interesting because I killed it. I came out with a 3.7, did very well, learned all the, all the bits you need to do. And it's a starter school. It's like a tech school that you get. You don't get a diploma, you get a certificate.
Automotive tech.
Yeah, automotive technology, I'm saying. So, brakes, how to brakes out, AC, whatever. And it just clicked for me because I enjoyed it. I think people understand if you love something, it's not work. I'm saying. So I felt it just engulfed it.
Fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And how engines work and, boring pistons and, doing those things. And I was doing that on the side, figuring it out with a Chilton book. Remember those Chilton books?
Oh, yeah.
Thick Bibles. I was just reading those things and it was interesting to me.
Now they put it on a computer.
Yeah, it's listen. This is what I tell people: figure it out.
Yeah,
because what I had and what you had growing up, we had MapQuest, and if that damn thing wasn't updated, we're in the river. Yeah. I'm saying nowadays you have you have everything at your fingertips, and I can't for the life of me ask when someone says, "How do you do something?" Are you serious?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? I tell my kids all the time, I'd fire all you guys. You work for me.
That's right.
Stop asking me questions. But my thing is like, you come back and you tell me 3 things you've done, and then I'll help you. Right. Anything, even when it comes to Rebecca, she's like, I said, you put a ticket in, but my first
vertical.
Yeah. My first Jonathan, like, I think it's a blue collar job, but the gentleman who owned the dealership that I worked for, my first job right out of school, he interviewed, his mentality is going into these schools and getting, youngish, smart kids that are trying to figure stuff out. Same Mr. Schultz. And then you went, New York, he has a dealership still there. I was telling you, when you asked me to do this, and I always thought, I was like, how did I become what I wanted to do at the time? You know what I'm saying? Because I've always asked now, Jose, why are you the leader you are? Why do you think the way you think? And why are you so empathetic about people's personal lives? And, how do you, I have to tell you stories about, when someone's coming with a t-shirt, I was like, no, collar shirt, dude.
Yeah.
Uniform. Tight. We're all tight.
Look the
good.
part.
Look the part. Act, dress like you want the job that you're trying to go.
That's right.
I'm saying, let's not, don't mince words here. Don't dress after the fact. I'm saying, so Mr. Schultz showed me the way. I didn't realize it. It was epitome. I even called my wife this past week. I was like, you know what? I don't think I ever told you this story. Because I thought, you realize you think you started right at white collar and you don't realize the blue collar mentality is why I have it.
Well, I think that was one of the things that drew me to you years ago, was that you were a mechanic and then got into technology. And as a technology recruiter, I was like, how the hell does that happen?
Yeah. It's all the same. Yeah. It's troubleshooting. I love it. It's grind. It's just figuring out how to isolate problems.
That's right.
And in life.
And configuration.
Configuration.
I mean,
and
it does. So, there's a parallel to it.
So Mr. Schultz, he coming and he pushed training.
Yeah.
Pushed the automotive business has a accredited ASE program, this, automotive service excellence. And you get badges and you take tests, and he used to pay for it. And, everybody's like, well, he was doing it for his own good, for the company. Yes, he was. But remember, I left when I left there or go to a different company, I take all that with me.
That's
So
right.
he's investing in his people, you know what I'm saying? And constantly,
But through that builds loyalty.
Oh yeah, massive loyalty. This man, and this is where one of the things I tell people all the time, I won't tell anyone to do something that I wouldn't have done. You know what I'm saying? This man would sweep the floors, wash the bays, keep it nice and clean, pristine. He would have, every summer he'll get us 5 T-shirts with our names on it, just so we have uniformity. It just didn't realize where I picked it up.
Yeah.
So early in my career, and how I thought it should be, in the way he treated human beings, and he would drop every Thursday. He's dropping the personal check, your check, in your toolbox.
Oh wow!
Every Thursday, and he'll just chat with you for a cup. How's it going? How's the family?
That's how you build culture.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The culture of caring, and people like, well, this is business. Yes, it is, 100%. But he invested in his people, and he constantly invested in his people, and he was very empathetic. He was there
and led by example. To your point,
always there.
Showed that he was willing to do anything,
washing
and everything.
Cars, like and he would say, "Hey, I'm going to be here 8:00 on a Saturday," and he was going to pay us.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, wash cars, whatever. And I'm like, wow, easy money. Let's get in. And he's there, and we're just having a good time. And sometimes you just do it because it's the right thing to do for him. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't realize that. He's had such an impact on my early career of how to treat people.
Yeah.
Till probably when you asked me about this, when I started thinking about, because I've always been asked, Jose, and it's a friend of mine, good friend of mine. He used to work for me a while ago, and we became awesome one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. And he was like, Jose, and I'm thinking like I'm some special. Oh, I just figured it out. You know what I'm saying? And it just didn't. I was like, and then when I spoke to him this weekend, I explained him, and I said, this is how he was. He goes, Jose, you used to walk the floor every morning. How are you doing? And at the night, and you just don't realize, like, well, that was just normal. He goes, no, that's not normal. You know what I'm saying? And I think when you start investing in that type of personality and mentality into the culture of it, it comes almost cultish. Like people buy into the, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we take care of each other. And I'm not one to say I've never said, hey, we're a family. We're not. Saying, no, we're not a family.
We're a team.
And here's the thing. That's the key right here. We're a team. You can't pick your family.
That's right.
You could pick your team.
You do.
Because there's family members I don't ever want to talk to. You probably have to.
No matter how much you love them.
How much you love them. You're like, I don't have a great relationship with a lot, my father and stuff like that. But my team, handpicked by me.
That's right.
Molded. And we accept each other because they could leave any minute. They could leave any minute. So that's right. Family, you can't leave. You're just tied by bloodline or whatever. But a team, I think that's so critical. So I think that's how, got into automotive, and it just clicked for me. And then, he gave me the opportunity to become a diesel mechanic, which he's like, hey, I think you could do it, whatever. This is not that big, And back in the days, they were just grizzly old man with knuckles, busting knuckles. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. You
fingers,
just like, grease. But, the industry was switching, right? It was pivoting to the, power stroke diesel, F-150.
Yeah.
So that was the first time, it was the diesels were going to come electronic. And because before that was just all mechanical. So I went to school. They sent me to school because he would invest. He would send you to training, like constant, all the time. Hey, this year we're going to do this, this, and that. What do you think? And he's talking to you like a human being. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. He's like, oh, awesome. And if you bought into him, he was there 100% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Because at the same time, he showed me customer service is how you win the game. That's right. And I tell my guys all the time, no. They're right. We need to show them better. Now, trust me, in IT and being technology, you're not going to get the best people on the side because it's confusing. I deal with it in my house. I'm like, Mom, I said,
why doesn't it work?
Yeah. I said, Rebecca, I said, it just doesn't always, like, come on.
Yeah.
Just try. You know what I'm saying? I love her to death, but my God, she drives me crazy when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, no, that's what you do. Like, it's like saying no, that's not fair. That's, don't put me in a box like that. And I haven't touched a PC in years.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah. But it's not that I have to. It's not a thing I want to do. Like, especially nowadays, back in the days when we had Windows 98, that was a problem. We were always rebooting it, right? But it's a little different right now. So, but he showed me
once a week versus every day.
He showed me, his thing was getting these Ford service awards and getting customer service and making sure the customer was right, putting a pad in the floor, don't dirty anything up, make sure you're clean. The tight running
experience.
Ship. Yeah. It's
brand.
And it showed me, yes, that's the trick right there. It just didn't dawn on me.
Secret sauce.
Yeah. That is the secret sauce. people tell me that's how it is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
People tell me from my other companies, Jose, how'd you become so successful at ICE and this and that? I'm like, and I think I take it like, I know it's a cliche. I said, just buy into it. It's not ICE. It's not Acrisure. It's not Google. It's the individual that wants to be involved and actually get the job done and do right by themselves. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, I had, you probably remember 15 years, I was probably my heaviest, 235 pounds. I was a big boy. You know what I'm saying? And they go, hey, how'd you lose weight? Rob, it's going to shock you, right? I worked out.
Discipline.
And I ate good for 6 days a week, you know what I'm saying? And constantly.
One cheat day?
One cheat day. It's good. Because at the same time, it's okay to cheat, you know what I'm saying?
I'm going to need that plan.
Yeah. It's just, at the end of the day, it's okay. Give yourself an out. You don't have to eat grass every day. Trust me, because I'm not a guy that does that. But at the same time, they're like, well, how do you do it? It's just, well, you get disciplined. You want to do better at work.
Intentional behavior.
Intentional behavior is because you want to do work. You want to get ahead. Well,
these are the steps you have to take. When
the difference, and there was a challenging from blue collar to white collar that didn't hit me till I was in the white collar field.
Right.
It never ends. The work doesn't stop at 5. At blue collar, you can stop it.
You punch
the
in
car's
the
there
clock,
and you leave,
gone.
right? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to think about it no more. I'm now, I'm thinking about, all right, what's the next thing? What are we working? Where's my email? What alert am I getting? What's the thing? And that's what you have to be ready for.
Right.
And if you're ready for that and understand it, and people see Jose always has his phone on, ready on the go. Everyone try to beat me on email. Impossible. I'm always
not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I want lead by example at all times. You want your team to be responsive. Well, be responsive.
That's
if
right.
they're sending you an email, be respectful of their time because they're worrying about stuff. No. Even if it's the silliest thing, personal stuff. Oh, I need a vacation. Yeah, cool. Boom, done. I don't leave them on unread. To me, it's disrespectful for their time and my time. So I want them to understand, no, I got your best interests at heart at all times. And I do. People think it's a facade, but I don't. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. Is respectful. I want to get the benefit of the doubt that I'm doing the right thing.
Right.
I don't think of, I'm not a big, watching the clock and stuff like that. I think if you start trusting your people and they join in, you're going to get some slack.
Yeah.
It happens. That's not.
It's human nature.
And here goes, I'm not expecting everybody to give me 100% because I don't give 100% every day.
Yeah.
But I want you intentionally to come in and try to do a decent job. And if you have something at home, talk to me.
Yeah.
Talk to me. People don't realize a good manager or leader, I think, has to have an empathetic side. They have to understand that not everyone is doing well at home.
That's right.
And when you're affected at home, work's going to get
life gets in the way and how we respond to it. I've always said here, we don't care how you get the outcome done. We just want the outcome to be positive. And as long as we're creating positive outcomes, how we get there, we all get there differently. Our paths are all different.
I bought into that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm so good at this stuff. You say,
at
the IT stuff, I like just getting stuff done. She's like, not everyone could. So just keep leading, and she's always been my constant, balance of like, stop being a jerk.
Yeah.
Figure stuff out. You know what I'm saying? So it's been I didn't learn this the easy way. I've learned throughout.
It takes time.
It takes time. And even, my friend I was talking about that, he says, oh yeah, you used to do that. He goes, what changed in you? Because you're a different leader now. I said, I grew up.
Maturity.
I grew up and I understand that, it's not all about the X and O's. It's all about, in between the lines. You know what I'm saying? It's in between those big defensive linemen and offensive linemen, right at that line that really gets the work done. I've always pushed that way. And Mr. Schultz, I give him phenomenal credit. And I plan to reach out to him. He's still alive.
Okay.
He's awesome. You know what I'm saying? I Googled the hell out of him. I see he's still alive. I'm probably want to probably head to New York one day and just, see if he's able to, for breakfast or a coffee.
Yeah.
Saying, just a good, kinded human being.
Well, I bet he'd love to know the impact that he had on
I wish he would. I hope that's the case. My wife says, send him a written handwritten
note.
I said, my writing is atrocious. I said, I'll get Claude to do it. And I'm saying, make it look personal. I'm saying she gets so upset about it. I said, that's personal. You saying, but I'm the type of guy at Christmas time, like, here's some money. She's like, it's not personal. I said, well, what's personal? If they get what they want, instead of me trying to assume what they want.
Right.
Saying, so you can imagine the gifts I've given her. And she just returns it, returned it right away. So it's a good thing.
It's the thought that counts.
So with all that said, one thing, I left automotive and I said, I went to this school and the teacher there said to me, what are you doing? I was the youngest guy. I was killing it. To me, I was killing it. I was in my mid-20s. I had a house. where I come from. I had a Lexus IS 300.
Job you loved.
Job to love, hanging out all the time, doing great things. Family was good. You know what I'm saying? Not married at the time, so you can imagine the chaos I was creating. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you don't want to be doing it. You know what I'm saying? It was 1995, 96.
Okay.
So think about it, right around, Windows 95, the Power Stroke's coming out. So
everyone was preparing for Y2K.
Y2K, yeah. So it was a perfect timing for me to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I worked my butt off for a year, saved up, and then I quit. And I went to technical school, ITC, in Jersey. Actually, everything was in Jersey. Funniest thing, but I went to Jersey. I was actually closer because of where I was at the time, but I went to Jersey. I did that for 15 months. It was a accredited, thing. And after that, got a job doing Y2K stuff up and down Jersey, patching servers, patching servers, whatever. And I did really well there. And the guy that was running that program said, hey, I'm going to go take a job in Montefiore Hospital. You know what I'm saying? You might have some consultants there, right? So I said, all right, cool. I said, yeah, let's knock that out.
Yeah.
I interviewed, did well. I was like, all right. And I did that for a while. I was literally just doing cabling work, going into the closets and identifying cablings, what port goes to what PCE and all that inside the IDFs, labeling them, like really clean, like tight work that was just phenomenal for me because I was such an OCD type with cabling.
Super meticulous.
Yeah, meticulous. You'll see my house network. It's over more than I need to have in my house, but it's like tight. Everything's labeled. It's literally just my house and everything's labeled.
We apologize in advance for all the wires in the studio.
It's driving me crazy right now. I want to fix all the wiring right now.
A little peek behind the scenes there.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's what I did. And I was able to get into the knock at that time in Montefiore Hospital. Great experience. A lot of good guys there. Met one gentleman who helped me get to the next level. I don't have a problem saying his name. Mark Behan, Irish guy from Ireland, coming in here with a strong accent. Right, we're in the Bronx, in Gun Hill Road. There's a bunch of Irish pubs there.
So he fits right in.
Oh yeah, he fits perfect in. He was having tea right outside, always with the tea, whatever. Never drank tea until I met this man.
Yeah,
and he was a massive packet guy. When people say sniffers, it's actually someone that's it was reading the technology off the cabling, off the wiring that's coming off one computer to the other.
Right.
And he told me, this is it right here. You figure this thing out. Because he was coming over here working. He was a senior engineer at the time. And he's like, yeah, you figure this thing out, whatever. So I just honed in. I studied more and I studied more. And I was able to get a job through Bear Stearns just because of that. I interviewed at the network operations.
Just a small little organization.
Yeah, just at this time, right before, So I was doing there. I was actually working in that group with a couple of great guys. It was the PAD group, performance analysis group. And all we did was look at packets to troubleshoot, develop it, because everybody thinks it's the network. That's the great thing about my job at the time. It's always the network, so I'm always going to have a job. So my job was to call BS and say, and write up no, this is what happened. You had NAGLin on, you had all these settings, different settings, but it's an interesting move that way. So that's how I got there. And so at that time, I think Rebecca and I were in New York, and we were about 5 years. Rebecca's from Miami, but the cold was getting to her.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, this is not going to last. This is too cold. I don't want to be up here, this and that. So I was like, all right. I said, well, I'm not moving to Miami. There's too many Hispanics now there. I got enough Hispanics in my life with myself. I'm saying. So I jokingly said that, but it's the heat. I just can't. Meanwhile, then I pick Atlanta, right? So, but that was opportunity that.
Half the heat.
Yeah, half the heat. But that was opportunity that the gentleman I worked with in Bear Stearns, he had a colleague that, took a job at ICE.
Okay.
And they were looking for a network operations analyst, right? They were going to start up a whole thing. So I came down, I interviewed, with my COO at the time when he became a CEO there. I interviewed probably one of my closest friends to this day, Chuck Atkins, who became my boss for 9 years, because at that time when I went there, I got the job and I said, all right, cool. So we're going to do this. So I was down here for about 8-9 months by herself. So Rebecca was like, that was your Fletcher time, because I hadn't do nothing. Just came home, work out, go home, hang out, go to work. You know what I'm saying? So she was like, enjoy it while it lasts before I get there. So I did that, came down, and then network operations didn't evolve into a group because it wasn't the network that they needed. And I was just like, well, we need to invest here. And at that time, ICE was tight. We were, until this day, it's still tight. They keep those numbers tight, very crunch. And that's where I was taught budgeting concepts of how you could get away with a tight budget, do more with less. You know what I'm saying? And that I got that, a good sense from Mark Wassersuck, who I work for now at Acrisure, because he actually went from ICE He was retired for 5 years.
Okay.
He's the one that pulled me into
Okay,
Acrisure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he taught me that, and he was like, and he was a little extreme. I tell him all the time, but we have a great rapport. One of the good leaders, a guy that tries to let you be and do the right thing, and he sees, he sees the talent and he picks people up from that. So, which is good. He has an eye for that. But so network operations was that. So Chuck was working in cybersecurity. He was a director of cybersecurity at the time, and they just had an opening, an analyst. He's like, I said, I don't know anything about security. He goes, you know everything. Just read their packets. You know what I'm saying? So he gave me a shot.
Which you knew how to do.
And with his push, whatever, Chuck was the next one. It was, Mr. Clark Schultz is, people in my lives, my mom, and Chuck was one who pushed me, and like, dude, you could do this. This is easy. I'm saying, you can figure this thing out. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know firewalls, whatever. He just, figure it out. Go do it. And I did. And to this day, we're really good friends. And he takes it as like, no big deal. But, I had to put in the work, 100%. Somebody had to open the door. I keep telling you, people, listen to the people that are put in front of you, giving you these opportunities. Don't take it for granted.
Right.
Because at the same time, again, Mr. Clark, it turned out okay. But I could have, got my degree. Who would have known? I tell people, I said, listen, I got this far with no degree. I said, I could have been the president of the United States. I could have done anything if I had a degree. I joke around with that, but no comment.
I won't comment.
But at the same time, so I started doing that for a while. I stayed there, 18 years, and I moved up, and I did in security. It
was a progressive move.
Yeah. It was constant. I'm saying? I took on more people, and I started leading. By the time I left, I had about, close to 1,000 people under me.
Wow.
Globally, running network and IT functions and infrastructure development, automation, which I loved. Built so many great machines, you know what I'm saying, processes, which I love. I love getting something from zero and making it so much efficient and getting people online. And, and people are like, well, Jose, you kind of replace people with automation. No. I want people to remove themselves from automation.
Right.
I'll find you another job.
Yeah.
If you could automate something, you could automate your job out of that. Let's get you something else.
Yeah, go be an orchestrator somewhere else.
There's so many other things we could do.
Right.
And when you find these people, and I found on many of them, I groomed a lot of them. I'm saying, and at my time at ICE, I think, through 18 years, I think I mentored over a couple hundred.
Wow.
And we just, they just wanted my time and, figuring I'll push and push. And, and I'm shocked because I'm straight and transparent right to your face. Yeah, you're doing this job, dude. Let's knock this thing out. And I've always told people want the truth. And I think that's true because I've always wanted something. I said, dude, I need you to tell me what is going on. Saying, why am I not getting,
Firm and fair.
Firm and fair.
Yeah.
Like my mom.
Yeah.
I bring it to my mom.
It goes right back to that, doesn't it?
Man, unconditional love. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, but man, she would strike you if she needed to get you in line. Yeah. But at the end of the day, firm and fair. So through ICE, I've learned a lot. I've made some great friends. The understanding of how much impact you have on people's lives didn't hit me till I decided to leave.
Wow.
It was overwhelming emotional.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to tell you I cry like a baby most of the time. I'm almost choking up right now thinking about it. But
you spent 2 decades there, and to your point, you had 1,000 people. You mentored 200, and there is a weight to that that I think a lot of us don't understand. The weight of being responsible for 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And not just directly, but under your team. And then the responsibility of you've got 20 to 30 directs that you're orchestrating that then feed down into that, and the impact that you have on them. And then, like we talked about, you get to pick your team, but the amount of time that you spend with that team, the amount of time that you invest
more than my family
with that team. Correct. And that goes back to you being a provider, knowing that time is investing in your family as well. It works both ways. And I think the arc is incredible. You go from a mechanic to,
actually leather salesman first.
Hey, don't let me forget that weekend flea market. My bad. But to where you have a, VP of, cloud and network at a publicly traded, and was it the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange? New York Stock Exchange.
But that's the companies we bought. So the originals, Intercontinental Exchange, commodities. If you think about trading places, oranges, cottons. That's what cocoa, Brent, oil right now. So that was the original. That's the OG. That's the one that still is the OG at that company.
Yeah.
So the great thing about Mr. Sparker, he had such a vision, and I kid you not, he was a mastermind in it. And I wanted my company to be like a grocery store. You don't need cigarettes, but you have this now. You have this. You get oil here. You could get your trade ID. You get data services. You could get networking services. We had the largest financial
single source,
and provide more services. And it's hard to understand or manage the complexity here. You know what I'm saying, but it was so awesome. Still was. You know what I'm saying? But at some point it gets to the point where everything's built.
Yeah.
And that's where I got.
Yeah, you need your next challenge.
And I thought, Rob, I kid you not, I was retiring.
Yeah.
Like, no, I was done. Like, I was going to just do something else, not IT, and I was figuring stuff out. So I think it was late 2024. I just finished one of the fastest migrations we did in IT at ICE when we acquired Black Knight. Did it like in under 9 months.
Wow.
We moved 5,000 people's network, PCs, laptops, everything. And it was phenomenally successful. I burned myself. My wife, Becky, told me, and the great thing about her is she lets me go do what I do because she knows I'm happy.
Yeah.
If I'm happy, then, the house is happy.
Yeah.
That's how I think she thinks about it. I'm saying, but she woke me up around September. Like, I say woke me up, she just told me, she goes, you didn't take a vacation this whole year. I'm like, what are you talking about?
9 months into the year.
Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? And that's not something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to spend time, whatever. So I was like, really? So I think because I just got the IT group, at the same time when we acquired Black Knight, I got the IT group from ICE, the original one. And then I got the Black Knight. So I had to combine them together and then do this migration. So think about brand new 2 teams, combine them that I just got.
Right. And
then move them forward and tell them how we're going to work it. I'm saying the great thing, I had phenomenal leaders. And that's what people don't understand. I'm just one guy. I have the strategy. So I got to get the guys to buy in, the guys and ladies to buy in. And I had phenomenal people. Still do over there. I still contact. I get probably a couple calls a week from people just to say, hey, what's going on with this? How you thinking about this? And I love that about it because it keeps me, not because of ICE, but it keeps me sharp on trying. I'm saying because I have a whole different team here that I gotta. Right. All right, cool. This worked here. Look how everyone's thinking about it. And so
you want to kind of create a similar model.
I do
in the next stop.
Yeah, I do. I did. So, but at the same time, I was coming out of the conversation with Rebecca. I was like, wow. So then I just started reflecting on my life. And a friend of mine gave me a book, Chuck, Die with Zero. One of the best books, good and bad. You know what I'm saying? It just tells you like, how much do you need? And what's the goal here? You know what I'm saying? And it starts out, one of the terrible stories, some guy works all the way till 60 and dies at 61. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oof, that's not a good. No. So this is a bad way to start a story.
I don't want that.
Yeah. So that book was kind of like a reflection, like, oh, wow, I need to figure out what I want to do next. And maybe I don't want to work this hard and put in the hours that I was doing. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I don't like it. I do. I love it. I loved it. But I wanted to put some time. So I figured I was going to, hang out with the wife and do some stuff. So, around January, February, I was telling my previous boss, who was a CEO that just took over from Mark about 3-4 years prior. Hey, and he was like, no, what are you talking about? Ooh, no, you got another 5 years. What are we talking about? I'm saying, he's like, we got another 5. I said, nah, dude, I think I'm good. I said, my leaders are ready. So I said, dude, you're good. And to this day,
it was time for you to move.
You got to get out of the way for the next line because they're not going to understand what it takes to get the ball moving. You know what I'm saying? And I was worried about a few of them. You know what I'm saying? Like the great thing about human beings.
Yeah, we're resilient.
And they surprise us once in a while.
They do.
I'm ecstatic how it's been played out for them and them getting up to the next level. And these guys are reporting it right up to the COO. Yeah. It's a different perspective. And I was able to get them, all promoted to VPs, the guys that, earned those titles. And I think that was my, to this day, a guy that was with me for the longest, Joseph Parker, one of the greatest human beings I ever met in my life. Just a good dude. I said, I want to work for you, Mama Bear, because when you work for Parker, no one polishes you. Yeah. He's, even me, I couldn't even go out as a guy. So it was a good transition. So, I started thinking about it and I put in my paperwork and we started moving forward on that. And, emotional 6 months. Yeah. But well worth it. I had like 3-4 going away things. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Enough of these.
My previous CEO, he's like, no, we got to do it right way. And it was the right thing to do, but it was emotional. So, I thought I hanged it up for a couple. I think it was my last time I was in the office in like July, August, and I was hanging out with Becca, and I'm thinking she was going to change her whole schedule for me, Rob.
Nah.
It didn't work that way. So she's been by herself. She's been running the house. And I thought, what the
and the dog.
Yeah. Her and Maui, bro. And they were good. You know what I'm saying? They were good. I'm in their way right now. So And I'm thinking like, oh, what are you getting? You know, she's like, oh, you want to come do Pilates? No, I'm not going to do Pilates or hot yoga or red light something. There's so many things, you know what I'm saying? So she's had the beautiful thing. She's figured out a lot of people can't do that job at home. I know I couldn't do that job. You know what I'm saying? I was shocked that the fruit and vegetables show up I thought it just showed up I didn't know we had to go out every 2 days.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to Costco again? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, how do you think this happens? I was like, oh, I don't know. You just press the button. Jokingly. I was
Delivery.
like, yeah, jokingly. But, and she sat me down like 2-3 months and she was like, hey, this is what's going to happen. You're going to figure something out here, but I'm not going to change my schedule. So when you get bored and you just flip it, and then I got to, and she was right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Mark, my previous CEO, he's like, hey, he already knew. He's like, when you settle down and you figure out, come hit me up. I might have something. You know what I'm saying? So just let me know. And I was like, I don't know if I want to, go back into the grind or whatever. But the man knew me. He knows what I like to do. I like to get into the sauce. I like to build stuff. And this, Acrisure was up and coming, still up and coming. You know what I'm saying? They're buying 100 companies a year. Just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Global. And so it was just, so, I started talking to them probably late October, November, September, October. And I'm like, man, am I ready for this? I really want to do this. So we had a good talk with Rebecca, and, I said, I think this is interesting. Right. I think it's good. I said, listen, I'm 53 at the time. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to play. I don't play golf. I'm saying I just don't do that every day. And someone has to play golf with me. So they have to be retired. So that's the other thing. You have to find people to play golf and do stuff like that. So I said, you know what? Let's see what this is. You know what I'm saying? And the great thing, I'm able to work with Mark, who I used to report to, and Chuck Atkins is there as the CISO. Okay. He's the Chief Information Security Officer. Okay. So it just, working with two people that you care and love and respect, you know what I'm saying, was everything. Yeah. Saying. So, that foundation. So we have, we're in the Midtown office, all three of us, with a bunch of little offices, and we got a couple people working out of there, you know what I'm saying? But it's going well.
And headquartered Grand Rapids?
Grand Rapids, yeah. Greg Williams is out of Grand Rapids. Okay. But the office is here, so locally down Midtown. Great office. Yeah. I wish ICE had those offices, because you could just walk out and have 15 different varieties of food and just get out and just walk about and just, just clear your head. Very different, but,
more city.
More urban. Felt like I was back in the Bronx when I was working in Mount when you just walk out and
I get it.
See a ton of people, but pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's probably the perfect place to hit pause in this first part of our conversation. We've talked a lot about Jose's background, leadership, and why people, not technology, are still at the center of every successful organization. But we're just getting started. In part 2, we shift gears into AI, enterprise transformation, data-driven leadership, workforce strategy, and Jose's philosophy on developing the next generation of technology leaders. If you think the conversation has been insightful so far, you're going to want to stick around for what's next. We'll see you in part 2. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.